In this video, I will be discussing third learning objective of chapter 16. This is compare random sampling and systematic sampling errors. So in the last video, we already have seen that when we define our sampling frame from the target population, we come up with an error that is sampling frame error. So in this video, we will be talking about two more errors that we incur. These are random sampling error and systematic sampling error. So first of all is random sampling error. Random sampling error arises due to taking a sample instead of researching a population. That means since we have a population but we are not researching our population, we are only taking a sample from the population, a subset of the population, we may incur some error as the sample may not closely reflect the population. So that's called random sampling error. That means if there is a difference in the results from the population and from the sample, that is sampling frame error. There are some statistical techniques or there are some statistical measures that can estimate this random sampling error. Random sampling error is negatively associated with the sample size. That means larger the sample size, smaller the random sampling error. Smaller the sample size, larger the random sampling error. Let's take an example. Let's say we have 50 students in this class. Now I want to check the average score of these 50 students. So instead of taking individual scores of all the 50 students, if I take only 10 students and get their average score, and I make an inference that this is the average score of the whole class, then I might incur some error. What? That I have taken only the average of 10 students rather than taking 50 students, all the 50 students. So that is random sampling error. Okay. So if there is a difference between the average of these 10 students and average of all 50 students, then that is the random sampling error. Now you understand that your total number of students is 50, that is your population. Now you want to represent this population with 10 students. So there is a possibility that there will be a random sampling error. Now, instead of 10 students, if you take 20 students, 30 students, 40 students to represent your population, you will reduce your sampling error because larger your sample size, you will more closely reflect your population. The next one is systematic sampling error. While the random sampling error arises due to taking a sample rather than population, systematic sampling error is not related to sampling. Rather, systematic sampling error arises from the way of doing business, from the process of conducting the business. For example, you may have some error related to non-response bias. You may incur some error in sampling frame. There may be some error associated with tabulation, some error associated with interviewer skills. These errors will combinedly called systematic sampling error. Now, as I have said that in the previous lecture, I talked about sampling frame error. In this video, I am talking about random sampling error and systematic sampling error. Now, it might be possible that combining all this error, the final sample that you select, that does not very well reflect your population. So that is less than perfectly representative samples. Look at this diagram carefully. First of all, this is your population. Okay, so from this population, you select a sampling frame. I remind you that sampling frame is a list of elements from which you will actually be selecting your sample. For example, student IDs or student email address or voter list or telephone directory, those are sampling frame. So from target population to sampling frame, you incur this error, sampling frame error, because sampling frame will automatically exclude some elements. Those are not listed in sampling frame. So from sampling frame, you go for a planned sample. Okay, let's say 500, 5,000 or whatsoever. So you incur some random sampling error because you are not taking your whole population, you are taking only a sample, you incur with sampling frame error. Now, when you have planned sample, let's say your planned sample of 5,000, then your actual sample may differ from your planned sample, because when your planned sample is 5,000, it's not necessary that all 5,000 respondents will answer your questions. So you encourage non-response error. Or when you collect your questionnaires, you may find that there are some inconsistencies, there are some omissions, so you have to reject some of the questionnaires. And your actual sample in that case will be less than what you planned. So from your target population, when you finally come up with your actual sample, that may not be perfectly representative of the total population. So what we need to do is, in a stage, we may not be able to avoid, or we may not be able to eliminate this error, but we need to make sure that we take all necessary steps to reduce each of these errors. So this is the end of this video. We will be discussing Learning Objective 4 in the next video. Thank you.